Hey, Kaz Nation, David Kaz07 here. Today we're going to talk fantasy football. It's week 2. You know what happens in week 2? Real things happen. None of this debauchery bullcrap that we had to deal with Aaron Rodgers throwing a dud, with apparently Josh Allen not finding out how to throw to Emmanuel Sanders, who's wide open. Oh, by the way, that happened quite a bit in week 1. Quarterbacks weren't playing well. Running backs were playing great. Receivers were playing great if the quarterback could get them the ball, and we had really high scoring or low scoring games, depending. Defenses were playing really weird. I hate week 1. So let's move on to projections for week 2. Now, we're not going to talk about all of the receivers. We're not going to talk about all of the running backs. We might break down a team or two. The first thing I want to talk about are quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are what makes and breaks your team. I'm sorry. If you say a running back's what does it or a receiver's what does it, a quarterback can get you 30 points every game consistently. They can give you 25 points consistently. And that's like an average game in the NFL is 25 points. You start scoring like Patrick Mahomes, you're up to 50 or 60 points. Get my drift. If you're a running back, you're not going to score 60 points. That happened like one time 7 years ago, and that was Jamal Charles, and that was multi-purpose yards. Well, let's break this down. Let's break it down here because I want to talk about some quarterbacks, some interesting quarterbacks. First off, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is amazing. He's great. He is fantastic. If I am thinking of starting Aaron Rodgers and I'm questioning it, you should take a brick to the side of my head because I shouldn't be questioning that. I am in an FOB league. That's where I pay for my free agencies to buy them, to pick them up. And I'm in a guillotine league. In my guillotine league, I have Matt Ryan. Drop him. There's your first drop. Drop Matt Ryan. Won't go into it. You should understand. But Aaron Rodgers was available because he was on the team that had decent players. He had DJ Metcalf. He had a whole bunch of players. But these players didn't perform up to standards. So in guillotine league, if you score the lowest, you're kicked. So Aaron Rodgers is available. I spent $300. Yes, I wanted to spend more, but I knew no one else would. Because Aaron Rodgers is going to ball out against Detroit. If you watch the game against Detroit and San Francisco on Thursday Night Football, you would understand this team has a weak secondary. Start Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to say 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, a minimum. He might even run for a touchdown. So let's say he runs for about 20 yards and a touchdown and throws 3 touchdowns, 330 plus yards. I even added 30 extra yards because Aaron Rodgers is going to blow up. Now, on that note, let's talk about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is going to be playing from behind all of the time. And the reason why I talk about Jared Goff is because I want to talk about his running backs, but I also want to talk about his fantasy value. He might be a Blake Bortles. He might be the new Blake Bortles that we'll talk about for a very long time, or the Matthew Stafford when he was with Detroit, because he might not be able to win a game. You don't get points for winning a game in fantasy football, just so you know. If you're the Detroit Lions and you're a fan and you're wondering why I'm talking trash about Jared Goff, it's really not his fault. He's a decent quarterback. He's on a team that's not good at all. However, their running backs are amazing. And you have Captain Checkdown himself, Jared Goff, throwing to you. And he's even throwing it to his running backs when they're behind. So if I have a running back that's named Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift, I am starting him, and I'm starting him immediately, not even questioning it. Oh, by the way, they listed as questionable. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's just a thing people do. They say those things. Coaches do that all the time just to put some sort of mind game with the other one, or they give them some rest because they might be a little agitated, a little hurt. It's week 1. It's week 1. He's questionable. It's week 1. He's not injured. I promise he's not injured. It's week 1. Both of them scored 25 fantasy points. Both of them had at least 9 carries. Williams had 9 carries, 54 yards, and 1 touchdown, 8 receptions, 56 yards on 9 targets. Swift is the starter. He had 11 carries, 39 yards. He had 8 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown, and 11 targets. Both of them found pay dirt. It's going to happen again. They're going to both have great games against Green Bay. Green Bay's defense is very lackluster. The only reason why Green Bay is better than Detroit is because they have Aaron Rodgers and they have a good receiving core. They didn't tap it into week 1. We won't go into it anymore. I'm really glad to see Jared Goff with two really great running backs. He did do good with other running backs, but he has two really solid options, and they can play him in two back sets and spit him out both ways. Pick a side, dump it. There you go. It's exciting. If you have Jared Goff, keep him. Don't bench him. It's fantasy football. He's Blake Bortles. He'll probably finish the top 5. I hate to say that. He'll probably finish top 5. Now, Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville. He's not even going to be on my bench. If I'm in a 12-man league, I'm sorry, you're not going to be on my bench. Unless you're a keeper league, yes, I'll keep him. I'd keep Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. No offense to Trevor Lawrence. His skill set's amazing. He's on a team that is lackluster beyond all reason and doubt. I'm expecting Jacksonville to be the worst team in the National Football League. I digress. Let's move on. Hopefully these multiple camera angles that I'm doing here, I'm trying a different angle over here so it's not as awkward. Move this over here. Hopefully it looks good. Hopefully you enjoy it. Again, comment, please. Let's talk more here. Let's talk about Green Bay's receiving corps. Big game from them. Maybe we should wait till Monday night to talk about this, or Monday morning. But Devontae Adams and Scalding are your two starters. You're starting them. And I'm even going to go so far as starting Cobb. Bet you they each have 80 yards, have multiple targets, multiple receptions, and ball out. I want to say each of them finds pay dirt, but I don't think Cobb might find pay dirt. Cobb might. Scalding might be the one left out. But he'll probably put tons of yards up because Aaron Rodgers is going to ball out. So if you're on that team and you're a receiver, you're going to score points. Running back, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I don't know who I'm starting. If I'm looking at the backfield, I'll look at how many attempts they've had, how many carries. Probably Aaron Jones because he's the starter. He's a bona fide starter, and that's what I'd go with. But I would try to find a different back because this is going to be a gun show. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw it like it's his job because he's getting paid millions of dollars to do it, and he had a really bad game. This is going to be a revenge game, and I'm sorry, Detroit. Aaron Rodgers can go to town on your team. Let's go over to Buffalo, another top contending team. Both Green Bay and both Buffalo were supposed to be one of the top contending teams, and they both put lackluster performances on. Now, Josh Allen wasn't nearly as bad as Aaron Rodgers, where Aaron Rodgers had a mediocre 1 point whatever fantasy points. Again, if you want to watch the overreacting video, I might talk about it a little bit more, and relax. RELAX, just like Aaron Rodgers says, relax. Josh Allen, relax. He has 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 30 completions on 51 attempts. He's going to throw the ball all of the time. And he ran a little bit, but we don't want to talk about it because he can do better. 9 carries for 44 yards. He can do better. But 270 yards, if any quarterback usually averages 250 yards or more, they're usually putting up 2 touchdowns. So I'm not worried about Josh Allen. He's a starter just like Aaron Rodgers. In any league, they're top 5 quarterbacks. Got Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and then your miscellaneous 5th one, I'm going to choose Jameis Winston. He's going to ball out with touchdowns. Running backs, Devin Singletary, a flex play, a weak running back 2. I'm not going to go into stats because it's not worth it. Receivers, just like Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, I'm starting receiver 1, 2, and 3. The third receiver is Gabriel Davis, and I'll go over that in just a moment. But you have Cole Beasley, who is a slot receiver. He gets the job done. He was targeted just as much as Stephon Diggs and caught 1 less ball. 8 receptions, 60 yards on 13 targets. Stephon Diggs, 9 receptions, 69 yards on 13 targets. Stephon Diggs will get his. He is a number 1 receiver, top 5. Don't worry about it. But Gabriel Davis, now he only had 2 catches on 5 targets, 40 yards and a touchdown. He found pay dirt. He is a big boy. He is fast. He can tap the toes when he needs to. He is someone I will be starting as a flex play. Now, tight ends, we're not going to go over that because the tight ends of those teams we're not going over that. Baltimore, let's talk Baltimore real quick. Baltimore's receivers. Are you ready for this? Baltimore's receivers actually had a decent game. Marquise Brown had a decent a very decent game. He did rush the ball, apparently, for one rush, but he had 6 receptions, 69 yards, and 1 touchdown. You know what? Brown is the one to start. He's questionable. It's probably just maintenance. Sammy Watkins, I would kind of want to wait to see more, but he had 4 receptions on 96 yards. Sammy Watkins and Marquise Brown, you should start. Don't worry, Baltimore will be fine. I don't believe I have to say that. They'll be fine. They might not win a lot of games because Lamar Jackson's arm is a little lackluster compared to the other major quarterbacks. That's why he's on my top 5 list. Running backs, Tyson Williams is your starter. No one else is going to do anything good for you. If you're in a 16-man league and your running backs are low, Latavius Murray, but come on, Lamar Jackson's a beast at running. It's Williams or bust. And he had 18.4 fantasy points. He carried it 9 times. Now, Murray did carry it 10 times and had a touchdown for 28 yards. Here's your goal line. So you're going to see kind of a split backfield, and you're probably going to have Murray stealing all of Williams' touchdowns. So running backs, you take it or leave it. Probably Williams for now, but you might see Murray take over. Let's go over it and let's talk about one more team here. Let's talk about Carolina, because Carolina has this really all-star stud in Christian McCaffrey, who's not hurt. He's still playing. It's week 2. I know. I'm surprised. But you get the idea. Now, obviously, he's a starter. We're not going to talk about that. Sam Darnold. I might start Sam Darnold. I really might. I might start him because if I'm looking for a solid quarterback and someone who might be benched, someone you might be able to trade for because you don't have really good talent and you just need that extra oomph, Sam Darnold might be who you go to because he's throwing the ball and he's throwing the ball well. Not too good, but DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are your receivers. They had 2 really good games. 6 receptions on 80 yards on 8 targets goes to Moore. Moore is your guy. Now, Robbie Anderson is a very interesting story. He had that 1 catch for 57 yards, ran back, cut across, scored a touchdown. He might be pay dirt or bust. He did have 12 fantasy points on 1 play. So if he starts getting targeted more, we might see it, but I'm going to hold off on him. I'm only starting TJ Moore because that guy had the vast majority of the targets. Now, if we look at Denver's receiving core is a little bit weird because you don't really know a good name in there. They had Jerry Giardi, who's hurt for 4 to 6 weeks, so I'm sorry if you drafted him. He looks good. He looks great, but he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So I wouldn't say drop him. I'd say probably bench him or put him on your IR. I'd put him on your IR. He's worth keeping because if he does come back, he's going to play very well. Tim Patrick's your guy, and KJ Hamler should be the one to pick up the slack. He had 3 receptions on 4 targets for 41 yards. So he should be able to pick up the slack. It's only 7 points. But if you're looking at distributing Jerry's target share, which he had 7, you're probably going to do a few to Tim and a few to KJ. So if you're looking at that, you're probably adding another 30 yards, and you might even find some pay dirt, brings some fantasy points up quite a bit. But the biggest concern is running backs. Running backs for Denver, obviously Melvin Gordon. That's it. Enough said. He's the only one that matters. 11 carries, 101 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions, 17 yards on 3 targets. And now, if he goes down, I trust Javonte Williams to pick up the slack, maybe not score as much, but he had 14 carries, 45 yards, 1 reception for 4 yards. Now, he was the starting back if you look at how many times he's run versus Melvin Gordon, but Melvin Gordon is the man. He's back. He looks good. He's back. He's back. So I'm not going to do this often, but defenses, let's talk about that real quick here. If I'm looking at a defense to start, that's probably waiver wire or pick upable. I'm probably looking at the Broncos defense. I'm probably looking at Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay's defense, even though Aaron Rodgers isn't on that team, but I'm probably looking at them as a potential Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would look at their team. Yes, there was a really, really tough game they played against Dallas. However, they're having a very decent matchup here. Tampa Bay, I believe, is playing for week 2. They're playing Atlanta. Matt Ryan sucks. Matt Ryan's awful this year. He's great. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He will always be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He had a Hall of Fame receiver as Julio Jones. Not the only reason why Matt Ryan was good, but Matt Ryan sucks. This year, Atlanta is awful. Atlanta will be the worst team in the National Football League, that or Jacksonville. They'll be fighting for the number 1 draft choice. Bucs defense is good. They're going to put up tons of points. So if they're on your team, if they're in your leagues as pick-upable, as a free agent, pick them up. I won't ever say this, but that defense I'd pick up. Other than that, as always, you guys stay safe, strengthen your community, show some kindness. This is a little bit of a longer video, but I'm very passionate about this, and I enjoy talking about this. I'm enjoying this whole situation. I love my new editing rig. This is great. I love doing this kind of stuff, and I'm going to keep doing it. This is fun. This is real fun. I love this. Quick shout out to my cousin. I'm going to put his information down there for his YouTube channel. He actually is going to build my thumbnail for this video, which you probably already see. Bet you looks great. And he also rebuilt my thumbnail for the first video. That one looks a lot better than the thumbnail that I made. So quick shout out to him. He's awesome. See the description link below to like his stuff. He does a lot of video game content, Persona 5, all that wonderful stuff. It's very interesting to watch. I love watching him stream live. Obviously, we're family, so I'm going to support him. But he's a good content creator. He's good. So again, thank you guys so much. Go Bills as always. I know I'm a diehard Bills fan, but I love football. And what you'll see here will be impartial unless I have a guest and the guest is talking trash about Buffalo. Not going to say anything. Not going to call it Stephen A. Smith, but Pittsburgh is not that good. Hate to say it. But again, I'll repeat it. As always, stay safe, show some kindness, and do your best to strengthen your communities. You guys have a good one. Good luck with week 2 fantasy football. Hopefully it's everything you want it to be, and hopefully those who drafted well have a good team, and those who are trading well have a better team. Thank you guys so much. You guys take it easy.